So a very good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining in tonight. It's a very big evening for all of us here. It's a topic that's very close to our heart, and Dr. Sujata, myself, Dr. Nayan, Rene, all of us, and all the authors who've contributed to make this possible. We are meeting this virtually tonight because of the reasons known to all of us. Thank you so much, Professor Rene, for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so nice to see so many Indian friends and all together here on my screen. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you. Especially thankful I'm also to the both authors of our book, first book in the series, but also to Nayan Mitra, who is a close friend of mine, and also Dr. Sujata Shahi, who is also a very kind friend of mine. So how did it all come? I think we all know that sustainable management, responsible leadership is becoming a very important topic on the business agenda all over the world. So we in Europe are working a lot with businesses, but also with politicians in order to make our world more sustainable. And that's where I met Nayan a couple of years ago. And she told me about all the wonderful things going on in India, especially about CSR and corporate social responsibility initiatives by your politicians, but also by business people.
And now I will introduce our next speaker, Dr. Nayan Mitra, who's very decorated. Dr. Nayan Mitra is the founder director of Sustainable Advancements Private Limited that broadly aims to promote the sustainable development goals through advocacy and implementation.
Thank you so much, Kakoi. Yes, indeed, a proud moment to initiate an entire series on responsible leadership and sustainable management. What Rene and I dreamt together, it became a reality with the first. So yes, heartiest congratulations to the editors Kakoi and Sujata, who have toiled hard to bring in practitioner perspective to the book. Responsible leadership is a topic that gets better by practice than by preaching. Interestingly, my company, Sustainable Advancements, is a gender-responsive company and a signatory to the Women's Empowerment Principles by the UN Women. We recently conducted research on women at work, where we wanted to find out how women have been affected due to the pandemic. This, along with another research on women in sustainable business, which we are currently conducting by the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry Sustainable Businesses Council, has received very thought-provoking data. We found, and I'm only speaking about women in entrepreneurship, 67% married women entrepreneurs. We found that both men and women were burdened by domestic work and also by their professional work. But even before COVID-19, women spent an average of 4.1 hours per day performing unpaid work, while men spend 1.7 hours, which means women did 3 times more unpaid care work than men worldwide.
So we have all the 3 guests with us, and I would like to start with introducing Ms. Suhaila Khan. Ms. Suhaila Khan is a social scientist by profession. Suhaila has extensive experience in management of large-scale transformational programs on women's economic empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you, Kakoi, for the question, and thank you so much, Nayan and Sustainable Advancements, for having me here. Before I begin, I congratulate you and all the authors who have penned down this very critical publication. In my role as country program manager for We Empower Asia program at UN Women in India, I work very closely with private companies on really looking at their policies from a gender perspective. And these policies range from their marketplace interventions to their workplace interventions and community interventions. And I'm sure that this book will lend credible insights to the work that we all are doing in this area. Now, coming to your question, I would like to just spend 2 minutes of our time to reflect on some of the challenges and opportunities also in promoting gender and diversity in the corporate sector. And as you have rightly mentioned, that one of the major challenges that we face in India when it comes to promoting inclusion and diversity is really looking at women's labor force participation, which is declining in India over time. And it to date, it just stands around 20%, close to 20%, which is well below the global average of 48%.
I would like to focus on 3 points. Number one, I always say that the book you all have written, Creating a Culture of Diversity and Inclusiveness in India, I think it begins with me. I need to change. I need to be included. And the first subject I would like to talk is women empowerment, but it begins with men. We are men, and I'm married. So I always believe that husbands should be caring and not controlling with their wife. That's number one. And the number two I would like to focus is on LGBTQ, the marginalized. We are not thinking of LGBT because I work with LGBTQ in India and globally. And this population is very huge in India, but there is no one who's coming out and sharing and talking. So what you have written on diversity and inclusiveness in India is that we have to give opportunities to LGBTQ population. We need to educate ourselves, like including me. Like I'm totally educated now. In case my son comes to me and tells me that I'm a transgender or I'm a gay, I'm going to accept it. It's not in words, but in deeds, So LGBTQ is facing huge challenges in India. So this book is going to open gates for a lot of this type of populations in India.
Kakoli, let me answer that very bluntly. The straight answer is no. There is no discussion on these aspects at all. And it is really a very, very sad fact. I sit on so many boards, but yes, the issue of women is addressed because they have a legislative framework. There are many laws in place. There are Vishaka committees. There's protection for them. There's promotion. There's legal remedies and so on. So that issue gets addressed pretty much on a day-to-day basis. We're also promoting a lot of recruitment of young, bright women professionals into the corporate world. So the leadership gap at the top in a generation or two will be pretty much, addressed. What is not discussed is really things like diversity in terms of geography, demographics, caste, religion, backgrounds. Something that Harold spoke so passionately about, people of different, persuasions in their gender preference. All of that is not just about the LGBT. There are so many other kinds of, what shall I say, groups of people, refugees. The kind of bias, the kind of perception that I very often see, sadly, amongst many of my board members in the corporate world, which is because they're also very civilized, they try to say what they really want everyone to hear, is masked in a lot of chosen words carefully put together. But whether it's male, female, or otherwise, you see the bias inherent lurking under the surface. This is not going to be removed tomorrow. It needs, and I think your book is a huge step in that direction. Because unless those inherent prejudices, often perhaps passed on to us over several generations, and we can't blame anyone for that.
I think we've arrived at a very opportune moment, and I would like to share my screen and do a virtual opening of the book launch. So allow me a second, please. I would now invite Dr. Sujata for her comments on this. And Dr. Sujata is the Vice Chancellor of ILM University. She's a seasoned academician and a very long-time academic administrator. She takes her passion is in teaching, training, and faculty development. She's done several management development programs. She's published a lot of papers, and we've joined hands together in bringing out this book, which we feel so passionately about, diversity and inclusion. When you get to read the book, you will hear a story about how we feel upset when we see people begging on the street, and nobody, not transgenders begging on the street, and no people fearing them. People giving them some alms just because they fear them, not really want to help them most of the times. So I think this is the congratulations to all of you for having your first publication with Springer. Springer is a global publisher of very high repute. It publishes several kinds of books in management, in different kinds of sciences, social sciences. And Dr. Nayan and Rene have been associated with Springer for a long time. And we are also proud that we have a title which is associated with the global publisher of repute. So great congratulations to all of you, and thank you so much for joining in today in this beautiful evening, enriching evening. Listening to all of you was such a great pleasure. And this is just the start. I'm sure we will bring in, as Shruti rightly said, their diversity is all around us. It's all about the inclusive mindset and the inclusive action that we need to take. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And with that, we close this session. And thank you once again.
So once again, thank you to everyone. And special thanks to Dr. Chatterjee, Mr. Harold, and our other Suhana panelists for giving us such a wonderful insight. And we promise that we will work for it. This is our first initiative, and we'll continue our initiative effort in this area, and we will try to make more contribution and make proud for all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Sujata. I would also like to take the opportunity of thanking all our partners, which is Eyes Open International, Matrix Academy, Sustainable Advancements, and Wiki. Thank you so much for being there with us.